one of the last things I guess I have, the seat comfort was brought up, and I know taking the survey, there was a lot of questions about different types of seating. From outdoor, indoor, club, low seating, and I guess what were some of the takeaways that you got from that, and what's the feedback on doing more of those? Because that's getting into the higher price thing, and that was some of the feedback I saw from people that took the survey was that, geez, we're not, how much money you think we got here? We can't we can't buy one of these, but I'm curious what the feedback was from that.
Yeah. Well, and Rob, I think you've obviously been over to the Raiders Stadium, the new Raiders Stadium. They've got a variety of seating options at those stadiums. Most new stadiums today offer loge boxes, clubs. The Vikings have a club section that the team walks through pregame. So there's stadiums, I think, in today's modern age, especially if you're to design a brand new one, offer a variety of experiences. And Memorial Stadium's entering into the 100th year next year, 2023. So obviously when stadiums were designed over the last 100 years, bleacher seats were the norm, right? Mm-hmm. Then I think we evolved maybe to chairbacks. Suites then got really popular. Now I had a phone call with somebody with the Green Bay Packers a couple weeks ago, and the Packers are even having conversations about if their suites are too large, because what they're seeing is people would rather have 4 and 6 mini suites, which are those loge boxes. So I think as we looked around the country to benchmark other professional football stadiums as well as collegiate stadiums, a lot of them are starting to offer those varying seating experiences. Oklahoma has loge boxes and a couple different club areas. When we went down there, we toured through some of those areas too. So we really wanted to do is understand the appetite for what types of experiences people are looking for, especially knowing that likely people don't want to sit on a bleacher anymore. So if you're not going to sit on a bleacher, what would be your choice? Is it a chairback? Is it a loge box? Is it a ledge seat? Would you like to just have a bar top with a ledge you could set a drink down and watch the game on as being a different experience? So that was kind of the impetus of all that.
And that experience that I had, that was just a couple of weeks ago. I was in Las Vegas for 311 Day, and my sister and brother-in-law bought me a tour of that stadium. And it's brand new. And I have to say that, it was almost a bit much, right? Like you walk in and it was cool. You could see here, I got to see the Super Bowl trophies. They're really old. I got to see, but one of the cool things is I got to see like Mark Davis's suite. I got to see like the club level, what they do there. They literally have a club level too. It's like $50,000 season tickets to get access to this club. All kinds of celebrities are there. They can literally walk out of the club and be field level, like you said, standing at a bar where they can just set their drink there and watch the game right behind the players, because the field there it's like a 4-foot structure that they drive into the field every single game where the grass is there. And so it comes field level. They have like a whole section there too, which is like club level seating, but it's catered by celebrity chefs every single weekend, with the games. So
yeah, so some things don't always apply.
But there's also one thing they have there is there's not a bad seat in the house, and there's all kinds of options, right? Even the top seats all the way up still have an excellent view of the field. There's no scoreboard in the way. There's nothing like that. You can see almost all the way across the stadium. So it was absolutely amazing to see. It's very comparable to like Minnesota's new stadium there in Minneapolis, the Vikings, which I've also been to that stadium. And I guess my question would be on that is, things like that, once they do the upgrades, are you going to be allowing tours, giving tours, things like that? Because like I only come to Nebraska a couple times a year now, but I would love to be able to see the stadium. I'd love to be able to walk around and kind of understand the history of it with Hall of Fame, things like that. Are there plans for that?
Yeah. So, and it really goes into the Go Big project. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're looking to do there when it comes to a little bit more of a fan-centered approach, right? So, right now in the North Stadium lobby of the Osborne Complex, we do have we have our national championship trophies, our Heisman trophies, some small display cases that showcase some of our history. We like to be able to showcase more of that history. We're still in some concept phases of all of this, but the idea is that we want a space that fans can easily access, not only on game days, but also on any day of the week. So, Rob, when you come to town on a Thursday, you can come by and see any of these artifacts. I think a lot of people's experiences in the state of Nebraska, I did not experience this myself, but the 4th grade trip to the state capitol, making Memorial Stadium a part of that, right?
Yep.
So people come and tour Memorial Stadium, and the kids get to see Memorial Stadium. The challenge is obviously you've put that in the stadium. On game days, it makes it a little more restrictive to get in. So we struggle with that right now. I mean, obviously, the North Stadium entrance is an entrance to our suites on the north side. So if you don't have a ticket in the suites, you can't come in and see the national championship trophy after a certain point. So how do we really isolate that out into another space? So I suspect a part of that will be in the Go Big project, but still conceptual with that.
Well, I will be out there on a Thursday for the spring game, so just putting that out there.
Well, reach out to me. I'd be happy to show you around.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Well, we'll get to the Go Big project in a second here. I know just what Rob is referring to there on the photos on the left here is him at the Las Vegas arena a month or so back. On the right was a trip that a group of us Husker fans took going out to Michigan in 2013, and we stopped at Notre Dame along the way. And it was a weekend where they didn't have a home game. So on that Friday, we could take a tour of Notre Dame, and there we are up in the suites, and then walking down, touching the Play Like a Champion trophy or sign on the wall and everything. So it's a cool experience, and certainly something that I think we'd all love to see with Nebraska. The last thing maybe with the Memorial Stadium stuff, I know in the 90s when Boomer and I were going to college there, capacity was like 75,000. And what people, it's kind of hard to think of it this way, but today capacity is almost 90,000. We basically added a PBA to Memorial Stadium with the 2006 addition to the north side and the 2013 addition to the east side. So as we continue to work forward, and don't quote me on this, but I swear back in the day, there was they would say, hey, we have 75,000 people coming in and 15,000 people on a backlog of tickets, right? Well, now that we're at 90,000, that backlog isn't as big just from the numbers. So is there a sweet spot that Memorial Stadium is? Have you guys come to any kind of conclusion with that? Could we see a future where it's downsized a little bit, but maybe more right-sized, or is that not really, those discussions were not at that point yet?
I would say, Honky, we're not at that point yet, but we're looking at. We really want to make sure that what we're doing not only is best practices across the entire enterprise, but also makes sense for Nebraska. The average stadium size is much smaller. I would say we're past the point of 102,000 person stadiums, packing people in like sardines into stadiums, right? I think comfort is really important to a lot of people when they come to a venue, especially when we all have choices now of sitting on our couch or going to a sports bar, hanging out at the rail yard instead of coming into Memorial Stadium. The experience, I think, is different than what it was before. Now that games are all broadcast on really any television or device you want. So we're not probably there yet to understand if the capacity will go down, what it would go down to. I would be shocked if we made it bigger. Let me put it that way. So my guess is that it would stay either the same or decrease. As we look at seat capacity, seat comfort, obviously making seats wider or adding chair backs does decrease capacity. So with any type of introduction of wider seats or seat width, there are some restrictions that we have there. The next challenge is we have close to 70,000 season ticket holders. So any decrease in capacity, it's difficult to be able to say, Honky, you get to keep your seats. Rob, you don't. Boomer, you only get to keep 2 of your 4, right? It
is not hard for me to tell Rob he has to get rid of his.
Ducked on you. I don't have season tickets.
Well, that was easy then. So we actually just opened up 4 more seats.
Yeah, we just opened. Well, actually, this is even this off season. Is there are they widening some of the seats even this offseason? Is that kind of an ongoing process?
That's right. So in the end zones, we'll be widening some seats immediately. So north and south will have wider seats, but that's based on availability, right? So again, we're not going to push anybody out of their seats. That's really important for me to state. No one's going to be told they can't come back into Memorial Stadium. It will be a choice, and we'll try to use the available inventory to renumber and make some seats wider. So that's really the philosophy right now, with the hope that we can continue to do more of that in the long run. But it's a very complex situation. We're enlisting a lot of experts when it comes to construction, when it comes to structures, planning, any of these long-term capital campaigns. Our construction season is not very long, as you can imagine. So let's say hypothetically we do make a significant improvement to the stadium, and a big portion of it has to be offline for 6 months. How do we do that and ensure that we have it reopened for the start of the football season?
Yeah, because there's examples like A&M and Oklahoma that basically in one off season, because of the weather, they were able to tear down and build up. But yeah, we have different climactic concerns, I suppose. I will say, to Rob's point earlier, that I think how Las Vegas is set up, and Minnesota, the pro one. Yeah, when you're starting from a blank canvas, you can build it exactly the way you want from scratch. I am really impressed with like the east side, as an example, sitting up on the top side, the 600 level. I love going up there. I've taken my son up there, and it's super easy going up escalators, and you have your own concourse and all the amenities of the restrooms and the concession stands. I mean, that's a good example there, I think, of how Memorial Stadium, they've done some good things over time to retrofit, and it'll be interesting. The South Stadium is obviously the one that that it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. We have all kinds of ideas, but that's another show.